You know, for the longest time, I kind of just figured that the most likely answer was nuclear warfare, that we would destroy ourselves in the process of defending our own arbitrary lines in the sand. But as time goes on, and I'm realizing more and more that mutually assured destruction is enough of a deterrent for most people to not make this happen, I honestly think that the way that we're going to go extinct is due to global warming. Now, not necessarily just because the Earth is going to get hotter, but actually because of water being a scarcity of a resource, and us eventually losing so many people that we become unsustainable. Now, I'm not sure if this is necessarily going to happen, but I do think that if we're talking about what's the most likely to get us extinct from this moment up to the future, I don't think it's going to be any kind of sickness or pandemic. We kind of proved with COVID that given enough time and energy and effort, we could make a vaccine for probably most things. Most things are probably curable. If we're looking at warfare slash nuclear warfare, I think that the threat of being destroyed yourself in the process deters enough nations that it wouldn't wipe out humanity as a whole. I think that we would probably, obviously lose a few billion people, but I don't think that we would lose everybody in the ensuing warfare. I think that it's more likely that losing resources is the way that we're going to go. Water is, in the scale of like the universe, seemingly is a pretty scarce resource. We can't seem to just be able to plug more into the earth, at least nothing nearby that's even remotely close enough for us to go grab. So, as a result of that, and because it's such a inherent part of our existence, I think that running out of water will be our downfall. I think that global warming has a big part of that. We're seeing right now a decrease in freshwater reserves throughout the world. Obviously, we have a big blue ocean, but desalinating water is a really intense process that's not as sustainable as taking from freshwater sources like rivers, lakes, etc. And we're losing a lot of that year over year. One is due to because of overpopulation. If you're actually looking at how many humans we have on the planet, because we have so many, we're using up more resources than is being generated freshwater. And then two, I would say that there's a lot of like greed that goes into this. You know, countries over time are going to keep holding and hoarding onto their resources, one of those main ones being water, which is going to cause a lot of the world to eventually start dying off. Now, this is decades to possibly low centuries levels away, but it's going to happen pretty soon because as it's getting hotter, the water is evaporating, we're losing more into the ocean, we're not getting as much into fresh water sources because we're using so much of it. It's becoming unsustainable. We're unsustainably using freshwater reserves. If you look in the United States, you just look at places like California and Arizona and places that are going through like these major heat cycles, they don't have enough water, they have to import from other areas. That will eventually be more of the world as time goes on, and we're going to have less and less fresh water. More people will die, and as more people will die, we lose a lot of the specialties that make our world what it is, which means that we could lose really the vast majority of people. And if we do so, we may become unsustainable and unable to inhabit this world how we have been for so long. We might honestly go extinct from that process. If we don't have people that can run the nuclear plants that are currently running, eventually they're going to go explode, and then we'll lose less usable land to be able to make food, and then eventually we'll die. Now, I'm not very educated on doomsday stuff. I'm not a prepper. I'm not completely crazy. I don't stress out about this kind of stuff too much because, we're all going to die one way or the other anyway. But I do think it's an interesting thought, and I'm interested to see what you guys have to say about this down in the comments below. Now, I will say, if you say that global warming is not real, I'm just going to delete your comment, so don't bother with that. But if you have any other actually interesting, thoughtful discussion on the matter, please feel free to share it down in the comments. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to see more, subscribe, and do not forget. That's right, keep casual.